less on their plate towards the holidays.
Right. And here are some staggering statistics. Americans add an average of $986 to their debt over the holiday season, at a rate of 15% on a credit card or more, with just a minimum payment of $25. It would take you 10 years to pay off your debt, including nearly $400 interest paid.
And that's just 1 year.
And that's just 1 year.
And if you do that every
year, look at the amount of debt you're accumulating for no reason, for a gift that you bought someone that they don't even remember, that didn't satisfy anything but your anxiety.
Yes.
Right. So that you wouldn't have if you started practicing Christmas in July.
And I challenge everybody to think back about last Christmas and the Christmas before, and think about, can you remember the gifts you got? Can you?
Right.
Or do you more so remember, the family experience, and to really hone in on what stands out in the positive from the past few Christmases, to make sure that that's what this holiday season is, that it's the good, and you leave all the bad behind and you just focus on the good things, like, to the memories with your kids, cookie baking, pie baking, making punch, cider and all that kind of stuff. And to think back about the kind of gifts that you do remember. Right. And I can guarantee you that the gifts that you do remember are something that you found very useful.
That's right.
And not necessarily, probably not the most expensive things.
Right, exactly. And it's more about the experience usually. And also, what are we setting our children up for? What are we teaching them? What type of value system are we setting our children up for? And are we taking them into that anxiety with us of feeling that they have to provide these Christmas gifts for, all these people too? So we're putting them in a situation where they're not being good stewards over their money either.
Exactly.
And we're not showing them to shop in July or to set a limit on how much they spend. We really want to put the power back with the consumer versus the big stores. Because, like you said, they spend millions of dollars baiting us to spend our money so that they not only get the money back that they've invested, but they make a huge profit by putting the right music in the stores, the right placement of the items, the big ticket items, the small ticket items, what is most profitable to them may not be the big ticket item or that, designer item. That's usually not where they make their most money. It's usually the things that are really close to the counter that you just pick up on emotion, and purchase, that they make the most money on. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want.
Exactly.
But make sure you're purchasing things that you want to buy and you're not buying out of just pure emotion. We'll get a lot further that way. So, when we're purchasing things for Christmas for people, and you talked a lot about the experience, because I know with my grandchildren now and my children when they were small, the best part of Christmas was the experience. It wasn't necessarily who got what or whatever. Sure, they're excited about something that they wanted, but babies play with the wrapping paper more than they do with the item inside. Exactly. And everyone mentions that. And so not that you should just give them wrapping paper for Christmas, but it kind of tells you what they think of the gift inside. They're not as much concerned with what's inside, but they're more concerned about being entertained, is my point. So really think about that. Like, what are we entertained by? Is it the gift, or is it the person that's standing in front of you? Your friend, your relative, your neighbor, your coworker. All of those really are what Christmas is about. It's really, really not about the gift. It really isn't.
It's not. So last Christmas, I was the hit of Christmas with the kids, because I really thought about that. I thought about what do kids love? They love to open things.
Yes, they do.
And so I got candy and I wrapped it. And I had each child under the age of 10 had about 7 presents from me. And let me tell you, I think all 7 or 10 presents or whatever there were didn't total more than $20 a kid. Wow. But it took them so long to open and they were so excited that I kept handing them one more. And so that $20 gave them so much excitement because they kept getting, a pack of gum, a thing of crayons, it was because I knew how much they like to open, and there was a study, I believe it's Columbia University, in the psychology department did a study that the way that that material goods don't bring happiness, but experiential purchases bring a lot of lasting happiness. So money spent on experiential purchases will leave lasting memories, and happiness will actually make you more happy person, more serotonin in your brain, whereas money spent on material goods actually sort of just dissipates. And so by spending all this money at Christmas, you're not actually making yourself happier. And and so let's have more of these experiential. Spend your money if you're going to if you have to cut back, if you kind of add up all the things that you want to do over the holidays and you have to cut back, I personally would advise my clients to cut back on the material things. Cut back on, the price of the gifts that you're going to get, and maybe add to the experiential things, like inviting your neighborhood over to make cookies at your house, or having some sort of Christmas tea party, or something where
or a potluck of some
or
kind,
interact, or the experience. That's why I keep coming back to the experience, because the experiences actually make you happier than the material goods.
Yes, and the actual gathering. People enjoy gathering together and celebration, not necessarily, like you said, with the attachment. So I hope the listening audience is getting something out of this. It's certainly helping me, Lunch with the Finance Bunch, because all of us in the room want to make sure that we are good stewards over our money. And that's one of the things we kind of talk about here a lot, is to be a good steward over the money you have. Sure, creating wealth is important, but if you're not a good steward over the money you have, you will never have more. And that no matter what economic level you rise to, you will spend every dollar you have if you don't learn where you are at now, how to save, how to be more smart about the money that you're spending, how to plan out these things, especially holidays and birthdays and anniversaries and, things that we are conditioned to think we need to spend money on. If we plan them out better, we'll have better control over those holidays, and we won't feel so helpless, and we won't wind up in this $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 worth of debt that we hadn't anticipated, spending 5 years to pay for it, and it turned into more of a, with 33% added, you're spending more like $13,000 to $15,000 on $10,000, and that's only if you pay it off in a year. If it takes you any longer than a year to pay it off, now you're accumulating long-term debt. It could take you 10 years to pay this stuff off, which is absolutely ridiculous. My opinion.
Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah. So, Ari, we're so happy to have you here today. We have our money stylist in the room. Her name is Ari Gold. Please go to her website. Check out not just Christmas in July, but everything she talks about on her website. It's very important. We have to be better stewards over our money. We cannot get to the next level of our economic goal if we don't start where we are, being good stewards over the money that we have, not allowing ourselves to be pushed into spending money we don't have by companies that don't care about how we pay our rent, our mortgage, or anything else for that matter, or what type of future we create for ourselves. So don't get caught in this ongoing, in my opinion, emotional attachment to something that should have a more spiritual or loving feeling, and we're attaching items to it that are broken and forgotten, usually within days of receiving it. And in some cases, people don't even use the item you give them. They give it to someone else.
It becomes the white elephant gift. Yeah.
Exactly. So don't do it to yourself and don't do it to others. Don't put others in an awkward position, because really what matters most usually is the person just being able to see and experience you as a person versus the gift that you give them. So I'd like for you to look at our YouTube page. You can see all of our past shows there. We have so many good shows, this being one of them. Christmas in July. I couldn't have picked a better person to share Christmas in July with than you, helping us get through what could be a very, very stressful time, and we're going to make it fun and happy.
I agree. Everybody needs to have a fantastic holiday season this year. You have no if you're listening to this show, you have no excuse not to.
That's right. And you're listening to us on Accelerated Radio. Go to Accelerated Radio /ARP, and you can hear it on your tablet or your computer. If you want to download the app, it's Tune In, and you can tune in and listen to us. Go to search Accelerated Radio /ARP, and you'll find us there every Friday at noon. This is Lunch with the Finance Bunch, Miss Charline, and we're talking about Christmas in July. And I hope our listeners, if you have any questions or you want to post, please post to our YouTube channel. We want to make sure that we're covering the things that you want to know about, and Christmas in July was one of those items. So we hope this is very helpful to you. So Ari, now in this part of the show, I want to go back to some statistics, if you mind, if you don't mind, because just doing the research on this was 57% of parents report that they were going to take out debt over the holidays in order to buy a gift for their kids. According to a study done in 2013, those were household incomes of less than $35,000. They said they were willing to take out an average of $700 in debt while they're bringing in less than $75,000 in actual dollars to their home. That is just, it's just unacceptable that a person making $35,000 or less is willing to go into debt over Christmas. You know, it's uncalled for.
It's staggering. It's so, I mean, and what gets me is that what those people are doing is they're teaching their kids to the same thing, that it's okay if you don't have the money, don't worry, take out a credit card or take out a loan or take out, and that's how we got into this recent recession in the first place. So basically, if you are thinking about taking out a loan or putting Christmas gifts or holiday gifts or birthday gifts on a credit card, it really means you can't afford it, and that you need to shift your priorities. Either starting earlier and planning ahead and starting to save towards that so it doesn't go on a credit card, or it means that you need to get something that's less expensive or experiential instead of material, because we don't want to, obviously people are listening to the show, they don't want to perpetuate these habits.
That's right.
So don't teach your kids the habits that you don't want to have. Right. So
and tell your kids the truth.
Yeah.
Santa is a character. Look, when my son was 6 years old, keep it real, we were in a large toy store, and I was getting a birthday gift for one of his friends, and people were shopping for Christmas. And he looked around and he saw all these people with baskets full of items, and he said, "Mom, why is it that some people get a lot of things for Christmas and some people only get a few things for Christmas, no matter how good they are?" Because this story is sold that if you're good, Santa will bring you whatever you want, and if you're bad, you won't get anything for Christmas. When in reality, you'll get everything you want if your parents can afford it, and you won't if they can't. So at 6 years old, I explained that to my son, and guess what? He was able to digest it. And I told him, I said, the reason, some kids get more gifts than others is because people can afford to have Santa bring more gifts to their kids than people who don't. And that's the truth. And so he said, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Because it took away the good and bad and let him see that it was the, amount of money you're willing to spend versus not being able to spend versus you being bad and not getting a lot of things. Exactly. So I think we're teaching our kids wrong. Yeah. My opinion, we're putting too much emphasis on if you're good, you get these material things, when in fact, the only thing it has to do with is if your parents can afford it. So let's tell our kids the truth. I mean, people may not agree with me, and that's fine. You
don't have to say that there's no Santa.
You don't have to say there's no Santa.
It just the way
explain it just
did.
That way. Yes,
because
hire Santa.
That's the truth. Is if you can't afford to get your kids, the gifts that the next door neighbor, if you can't afford a PlayStation, it doesn't serve your kids to go into debt to get them, because the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to try and keep up with the neighbors for the rest of their life.
Right.
It's always, and it just grows. First it's, you know, an Xbox, then it's an iPhone, then it's a car,
Yes.
then it's a house, and then you have the people who, yet they have all of these things, but they are one missed paycheck away from being homeless.
Total disaster.
And so you might think, putting $100 on the credit card's no big deal, but it's not. It's not just the $100. It's the principle. It's what you're teaching. It's the lesson.
Yes.
So that $100, you know, just keeps going into other things, and before you know it, you have a kid who's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in debt. So stop teaching your kids, you know, these lessons that you don't want them to learn, that you are trying to get, you know, undo in yourself.